episode of the Watch That Join podcast. My name is Mary.
And I'm James, and it's long time no freaking see y'all.
We've
No
been
here.
busy. We've been busy. Someone decided to go to a whole nother continent.
Yeah.
Didn't invite me. So
yeah. Yeah. Just busy traveling the road. We just came back from India for a wedding. It was fantastic.
it's just life be life, and y'all. Like I said, we both have full-time jobs and we love what we do, but this isn't easy. Especially we've been doing kind of long movies lately. Like The Substance was
Yeah.
very long. I
Yeah.
still think about Poor Things. That movie was so long. So it's just it's time consuming. So give us some grace, and I know you guys are glad to have us back. So yeah, what movie will we be discussing today, James?
Today, we're talking about 4-time Academy Award winning Anora.
I won 4 Academy Awards.
Yeah, it did. 4.
Okay.
Yeah, it's actually the first movie ever that a single person, Sean Baker, won 4 Academy Awards. Actually,
Who's Sean Baker?
Sean Baker is the producer, writer,
No, he's a director.
director, and editor.
Oh, he's all of it. He's
He's
like
all
Tyler Perry. Ah.
Yeah, no, he's like Tyler Perry. But
Listen, this man got me watching Beauty in Black, so I don't know why I'm still associating with you. But
we should do a little cutout of Beauty in Black because it is
the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen.
Yes, but it's so entertaining. You can't stop watching, like a train wreck.
All right.
Yeah. It actually won. Going back to Anora, Anora actually won 5 awards. It won Best Picture, the Academy Award for Best Picture, Best Director, Sean Baker, Best Actress in a Leading Role, was Mickey Madison.
It's
but also,
Mickey, not Mikey.
I think it's Mikey.
Let me see. I'm gonna Google.
I think it's Mikey. Yeah, I think it's Mikey. I think I pronounced it wrong.
I thought it was Mickey too. Mickey seems very Russian.
Mickey does sound Russian.
It sounds really Russian.
But
I
then also,
if I could see
but also Best Original.
Oh, her name is Michaela, so it's Mikey.
It's Mikey. Okay. Best Original Screenplay and Best Film Editing, which I'm very interested in how they judge film editing. Like, are they watching all the raw films and be like, yo, you really turned that around?
No, I don't think it means that. It's just editing just means like how the film was kind of shot. Like if you have like a transition from one scene to a next, you have to edit that. So it's like what kind of transitions you use. If you use jump cuts, it's like how the film was edited so it looks the way it does. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Not like, yeah. Now I'm really stuck on, is it Mikey? Because it's Michaela. I think it's Mickey. I don't know. Whatever. Let's just call her Madison. But yeah, I never heard of this film until I heard one podcaster talk about it, and he said it was great. So I watched it, and yeah, we decided to review it.
You know, and that's a common theme. So this is an independent film, and independent films are, I didn't know what they were until I looked it up, right? They are films made outside of the traditional big studios like Warner Brothers or Disney or like Universal. So they have typically smaller budgets, and they have typically unknown actors and actresses. And the directors, because they don't have the commercial pressures like a
Marvel movie would.
Exactly, like Marvel movie would. They can do more outlandish, provocative things. And this movie in particular won I like clean house at a lot of independent film festivals before it got up to the Oscars. Like, it won the British Academy of Film and Television Awards, like Film Independent Spirit Awards.
That's what BAFTA stands for. Okay.
Yes, BAFTA Awards. Mickey won for Best Actress and for Best International Independent Film. You know, the Producers Guild of America Awards, the Cannes Film Festival, which Sean Baker won. They won so many awards, and I think part of this award show is like, and kind of what make movies art is I feel like when people appreciate it, it kind of like grows. If that makes sense, right? You want to
I think it's
also,
like a cult base
yes,
fandom. Yeah.
a
Yeah.
cult fandom, um, yeah, just kind of grows, and people want to be on the same bandwagon. But it cleaned house.
And I get it. A lot of independent films are good too, because you know how sometimes when you watch a movie and it's like the only pull about this movie is that you put big name actors in this movie that doesn't make sense.
Yeah,
Like, oh, Kevin Hart and The Rock and Scarlett Johansson. It's like the main pool are the actors, like, but this movie doesn't have any substance. Whereas an independent film, like you said, they're using more unknown actors so they can really kind of drive in on the plot. Like that's the main point, the plot. And you discover a whole lot of actors are like, yo, you act so well, like Miss Madison.
yes. And the thing is that Sean Baker, he, from the director's standpoint, he only has done independent films, right? And his films focus typically on marginalized communities, like often casting non-professional actors, right? He uses like this one movie he recorded entirely with an iPhone, right?
Shot with iPhone.
The whole movie was shot with iPhone. But he is known for working with low budgets and innovative filming techniques. But he also supports um, essentially like decriminalizing sex work, and he tries to show that in like an empathetic light, and in this movie, Anora kind of ties in to that. You can kind of see it.
I wonder why he works to decriminalize sex work. Is he Russian? Is like sex work legal there?
No,
Be-
he is not Russian. So um he was born in America. He grew up. He went to NYU School of the Arts, but he talks openly about he was addicted to opioids,
Mm,
and he appreciated like the struggle with addiction, but also a fascination with like I said, sex work and that life. And a few of his movies, he actually went and kind of followed some sex workers and their life, and he allowed him in um, to record it and make his independent films.
mm. You know, that's interesting, you know, because I think this movie kind of represents kind of like a modern sort of American dream in a sense. Like in America, you can be a sex worker and meet a rich man and he turned you from a hoe to a housewife. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
so
yeah,
and I do think it's interesting because not to well, it's not very off topic because sex work it's just if sex work was legal, it'll be a lot safer for sex workers and they wouldn't get killed so often.
yeah.
So I understand him
So
wanting
get
to
some if it
decriminalize that for the safety of the people who do this profession because they're going to keep doing it. It's the oldest profession around. So
exactly
why
if
not put
it's
precautions in place to keep them safe?
if you legalize it, you can like
Monitor it.
monitor it
Yeah.
and protect those who are in it.
Okay. Well, anything else you want to say before we get started?
Um, yeah, one other thing. I guess no. Let's get started, and then we can the point I want to make. We can kind of put it in naturally. I'll
All
write it
right.
down.
Don't forget it.
Oh, yep.
Okay. So the film opens up in a strip club called Headquarters in New York City, where women are giving private dances to men. And here's where we meet our titular character, 23-year-old Anora, who goes by Annie. One night, while Annie is eating her lunch, her manager approaches her and asks her to meet with a wealthy young guest because he wants a girl who speaks Russian. Reluctantly, Annie agrees, and she meets Vanya, aka Ivan Zakharov. No, Zakharov. So, one thing that's interesting about this film, and you know, it makes sense. You said he works to like that Sean Baker works to decriminalize sex work because how the way he portrays headquarters is not like a typical like shameful,
Yeah.
grungy, hostile environment. Headquarters seems like a dream world, like a fantasy. And I understand that's what they try to portray to men, but the movies opens up and you have these this song called Greatest Day, Robin Shows rework. It plays and the song sounds like an 80s like soft rock song. The lyrics are uplifting and youthful. The club lights are like purples and blues, and they like reflect off the glittering strands in Anora's hair as she dances.
And she
Like
looks happy.
everyone looks happy. Like everyone
Yeah.
looks happy. They look serene. Like the aura Sean Baker creates makes headquarters feel like a place of wonder and optimism and like a youthful sort of recklessness that we all wish that we could still partake in, but we're too old and we don't want to go to jail. You know what I mean? Like it seems like a fun place. It doesn't seem like Beauty and Black. Like this is a terrible place and everyone's mean and
Exactly.
you're gonna get cut. Like
I thought that too. Or even what was the stripper movie with J Lo and
Hustlers.
Hustlers? Even Hustlers, it had that like hood stripper movie to it, like you said, where the strippers are fighting and they're on drugs, and there was a little bit of that too in this show. But you're right, it was definitely
It's like the fighting. It took a more comical approach. Like
yes,
it, like her main op was this girl named Diamond who
yes.
hated her. I guess because Annie like danced with a dude she liked, or maybe like her boyfriend, and ever since then
Hmm.
Diamond hated her. But it was funny. It was very funny. Like yeah,
Yes.
and yeah, I did like that because like, and I understand the stripper world. I feel like it's petty as high school, but more dangerous because there's money involved and like desperate people. But I
It's
like how
competitive,
yeah, yeah. I like how this was like a lighter take. You know, we didn't hear about anyone getting sexually assaulted. Like we didn't hear
exactly.
anyone about getting cut in the face by a never stripper or like
Throwing
someone
acid
strung
on her.
out on drugs.
Yeah.
Besides Yvonne, but so yeah. And one thing I noticed is that well, let's just talk about Miss Madison, Mickey or Mikey Madison. She is amazing.
You mean like she dances amazing?
No, she's just an amazing actress. She ate
Mhm.
this role up, no crumbs. Her Brooklyn accent is incredibly natural, and her mannerisms, like when a manager comes up to her when she's in the dressing room and she's eating her lunch, and the manager's like, "Yo, go meet Vanya. Like, he got all this money." She's like, "No, I'm eating my food," and she like does this shrug and looks like like the F kind of face, like she does like this sucks to suck shrug, and it just seems so natural. It seems like she really talks like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
like, you know how sometimes you're watching a movie and it's like the dialogue is written well, but people don't talk like this.
You say you don't think people talk like this?
No, no. Have you ever watched a movie where it's like the dialogue is written well, but you're thinking people don't talk like this. People aren't this witty in real life.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
if you're
This
watching Gilmore Girls and their banter is just
exactly,
perfect.
exactly. Everything they say is just perfect, or
And I
so.
like that, but this is, for a movie like this, I think it is important that people sound like real people. So like, yeah, she's just like, I'm eating my food, and she does like this little shrug and like looks like I don't care, and it's like, yo, that's something anybody would do. Like that's so like real. And even when she was dancing with this one dude, and he was like putting money in her G string, and he was like, "I'm gonna make you a belt," and she's like, "Yeah, gonna make me a money belt," and it's like nothing she says is too flowery or like sophisticated. She talks like a real person. Like she
Yeah,
has a butterfly tattoo on her finger. Like she's a regular girl. So I definitely
right.
feel like Sean Baker did do the research, like you said, and like actually studied sex workers and learned about it.
No, I agree. And there's even another part where she was complaining about the DJ,
Mm-hmm.
and when the owner of the club came in, I think it was a point that she brought this up. She was like, "Hey, you gotta get your cousin talk about the DJ. He
Mm-hmm.
disrespects us, and
If
he
he
like
keeps
I just
disrespecting us, we're not going to give him a cut.
exactly not give him a cut." And
Mhm.
that showed that one, she had power to talk to her boss like that. That she felt as though
She's
she
really
had
good at her
worth.
job. I think she's the
Yeah.
main person in there. Like she knows how to
Yes.
work the floor.
She knows how to work the floor, like you saw that with all the clients she was grabbing or like, "Hey, come to the ATM." And she was
Even how she said it, she was like, "Oh, do you have money? Let's go to the ATM. Let's go to the ATM." Yeah, and it's like I've been in this situation before. Like,
Yeah, she
yeah.
knows she knows what she's doing. But also, I felt as though it was also Sean Baker's opportunity to show, like, hey, you need to respect these workers, and the work conditions they have need to be hospitable. And even there's another part of the movie where she's like, hey, you start giving me health care and a 401k,
Mhm.
then you tell me when I can take off. So
Mhm.
I feel like all that stuff was intentional, very intentional.
She's young, but she's not entirely dumb because I feel like she's worked. She's
She's
this
street
ain't her
smart.
first rodeo. She's been doing this for a while. And you can tell she's naive in other moments where we'll talk about. But when it comes to work, this girl
Mhm.
got her. She got it together. She knows what she's doing. Do you want to do the next section, or you want me to do it?
Yeah. After the private dance, Ivan invites Annie to his home for paid sex. When the two meet later, she is astonished by the luxurious mansion he lives in. She acquires about his wealth, and he reveals that he is the son of a Russian oligarch, Nikolai Zakharov. So I wanted to understand what a Russian oligarch is, right?
Or what an oligarchy is in general, because your girl don't know. I've never known.
Ol- yes, an oligarchy in general. So the Russians, at the fall of the Soviet Union in 1990,
It's 1990. I don't know. It was that early? That
yeah,
like early? That
yeah,
I
the
don't
the
know.
Cold War ended in like 1990,
That
right
late.
after the Berlin Wall fell. So after the Russian the fall of the Soviet Union, Russia had to privatize a lot of its industry because they were
They couldn't trust the
communists.
government.
Yeah, the government owned everything. They owned
Uh,
oil, gas, aluminum industries, and they had to privatize. So what they did, instead of making like fair bids and auctioning off the the industries or making them like publicly traded and the people own it, it got bought up by a few super rich people in Russia for relatively cheap.
a monopoly?
A monopoly in oligarchy, right? So these people were basically businessmen and women, and they controlled Russia for like the next 30 years, right? They controlled elections, and they controlled like aluminum and steel manufacturing and, like I said, like natural gas and
Isn't it crazy what money can get you? Even if you have no like real political prowess or like background, if you have money, you can
if
be
you
in
have
those
money,
seats. You can be in those rooms.
you have money. And it's funny that, Putin was elected into office in 2000s and he was like, hey, I'm getting rid of these oligarchs. But obviously, instead, he just got rid of the old ones and then hired ones that align with the Kremlin. So these people are literally some of the richest people in the world, billionaires,
Mm.
right?
You can tell they have private jets. Like
Yes,
they have mansions. Like it's crazy.
yes,
Yeah.
yes. So it's interesting also about the house that Ivan has. That's a real house that Sean Baker, in order to find the house, all he did was Google best mansion in Brooklyn. And
Honestly, that's a man working on a budget. I appreciate it. I don't think there were any sets. I could be wrong in this movie because this. I'll explain it. I'll talk more about it later. Yeah, but I'm not really surprised that Vanya's house is a real place.
and it works. It works so well because
It even looks like gaudy and like you would expect a 20-year-old's house that's not really his house to look like how the way it's decorated, all the gold and like it. It looks like a real place too. Like
yes, let me tell you about this house real quick. So it's
okay,
14,000 square feet, right? Which is warehouse size. It has 5 bedrooms, 5 baths. Right now on Zillow is worth like $7.5 million. But
jeez.
after this movie, I can imagine it skyrocketing.
Hmm.
Right? It's gonna be skyrocketed. And it was actually owned by a Russian oligarch and his family. And it's just like you said, it's the way like they talked about recording in a home where they
Hold
didn't
on,
even
hold on,
use
hold on, hold on, hold on. So the Zakharovs are real people?
no, the
Oh,
Zakharovs aren't real people.
Okay.
There's
But it was
another
owned by another oligarch.
yes, another Russian family owned it.
Oh, that's creepy.
Yep, another set of Russian billionaires owned it, and Sean Baker just hit the lottery.
He's
In one
resourceful.
resource, exactly, and you have to be as an independent director because you
You
don't
don't got
have
no money. But you know what I mean? Is those little things. It's like your brokenness adds more character to the film.
exactly.
Sometimes we don't want to, we do like little, I don't know, resourceful stuff like that. So,
Yeah, the
but
budget for this film was $6 million.
okay,
That
yeah,
is like nothing.
that's not a lot of money.
That's not a lot of money at all.
Yeah.
$6 million.
But one thing I noticed about the scenes we talked about is Yvonne is 21 and it shows. Like even though Annie is only 23, because she works, she's more mature. Like she's a professional hoe for show. Like she gets to Yvonne's house, he offers her all these drinks. She only wants water. When she
Yep.
arrives, she has condoms in her bag and she makes sure that Ivan puts it on. She makes
Yep.
sure. She's like, "Do you want to put it on or you don't want me to put it on?" She asks him exactly what she wants so she knows how much to charge.
Yeah.
So, like I said, this ain't her first rodeo. She's a seasoned hoe. And I think it also, I'm so glad you said that about him wanting to like respect sex workers because she is a professional.
Yes,
Yes,
she is.
it sucks, but this girl is professional.
This
Like,
girl is professional.
very
She
professional.
she knew exactly what she wanted. There's even one point where she's like, "Hey, you pay for an hour, you only use 15. You got another 45 minutes."
She's counting.
Like
She is
counting.
counting for
She
real.
is on the clock.
Mm-hmm. For the holiday party, she was like, I have holiday rates.
Yeah,
Like,
I have holiday rates. Exactly. He invited her to a New Year's Eve party.
yeah. So what do
Right.
you think? Speaking of Yvonne, what do you think of Mark? I'm gonna butcher his last name. I think it's A Del Shetian's performance.
It's Eldasheen.
Elder
El
Sheen.
El Delchian. Oh, I had it. I had it before you
Say
even
it
said
again.
it.
You
It's
lost it.
it's oh, you get on my nerves,
All
Mary.
those letters for so few syllables.
It's like here we go. Let's listen to Google.
Pronounce names.
Here we go.
You're such a. You're an AI hoe.
Pronunciation is Mark Edelstein.
Adelstein. Okay.
Mark Edelstein.
That seems like way too many letters for Adelstein, but yeah, tell me how you feel about him.
So Mark Edelstein, I liked him the more I researched him. So he played before this, he's a Russian actor, right? Um this is his by far the largest role that he had. Um he's only 20, he was born in 2002, so he's only what, 23 years old, right? Russian from a Jewish
And I think
family.
Madison is 26.
Yeah, exactly. They're all super young, right? His first film was back in 2021, and the film that caught Sean Baker's eye was The Land of Sasha, which premiered at the Berlin.
Sasha?
Yes, The Land of
Sasha got
Sasha. Sasha's the name of my dog. So, The Land of Sasha is a 2022 Russian coming of age film,
I love coming of age films. I may watch it.
and is based on a novel of the same name.
And it's a book? I'm sold.
Yeah.
I'm
the,
sold.
the film goes into themes of adolescence, identity, and family relationships.
Okay.
And I watched the trailer, and the trailer is in Russian subtitles. It just looks so freaking adorable. It's just him as a kid where he falls in love with this girl, and like he's just nervous and shy, just like he's the same mannerisms, kind of like in this movie, you know.
Now,
And kind of looking forward, he was just announced to be, which to be honest with you, I don't really see how this next role fit, but I'm happy for him to be the next Mr. Smith in season 2 of Mr. and Mrs. Smith.
no, I can see that perfectly. He's Russian. He knows about spies.
But I
He,
feel
he,
like
he will kill that. And I don't know. I didn't know there was a season 2. I am hype. I did
yes,
not know. Oh my God. No, he would eat that. He would eat that. Like the kid. Yeah, no, he will kill that because even though he plays Yvonne, who's a very immature, it's just so authentic. Like he plays the foreign kid who's obsessed with US culture, so he listens to rap music. He
Yeah,
curses a lot. You
he
know
does.
what I mean? He just wants to party because he's like he only knows America from like music videos and like MTV. You know what I mean? So
Yep.
like and he
He
got a
has
lot of
this,
money and he's 21, so he's
and he's
really annoying. Like
speaking of that, that Vegas scene was hilarious.
which
When
one?
he landed in Vegas, he brought his whole crew. Like they just flew out to Vegas in the middle of the night. They brought the whole crew to Vegas, and he's the the owner of the hotel is like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't know you were coming. We're cleaning out the room for your hotel right now." And he's like, "What? You want me to wait? You want me to wait? You're asking me to wait?" And then the owner is like terrified. He's like, "Ah, I'm just messing with you." And they
Yeah.
go and just turn up in Vegas. That seems like a kid who has too much money, what they would
Yeah,
do.
he's a spoiled brat. But
He's
even like how the way he talks, like him cursing so much, he'll be like, um, what did he say? Like, um, just like when he's like introducing his friends, he was like, "Yeah, that's my fucking best friend Tom." Just trying to seem so American and like trying to like
hmm
he like cursing too much, and that's his idea of America. And like it's popping bottles, it's going to Vegas. It's like even when he got mad and like Toros's henchman came to the house later on, he said like real rap or something like that, and it's like you listen to too much rap, like it's
I
crazy,
feel like
but
I feel like black culture is what a
it's
lot of people
it's the
take
most replicated culture.
is the most replicated culture, but also I feel like it's what most people think of as American.
Really,
You
I think it's either apple pie and blonde women. I don't know why white men are obsessed with blondes. I don't get it, and big titties, or it is like rap. Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah,
I agree. It's two extremes.
yeah. It's
Because
too.
even when I went to India
Mm-hmm.
and Goa, like they're playing all the Punjabi beats,
Mm-hmm.
but as soon as it got hood and
Mm-hmm.
ratchet, the whole
They looked
place
at
was turning up.
you. Okay.
Yeah, they were looking at me, but turning up, throwing up gang signs. Like I might have heard a few niggas. I was looking around like what, but they were like they were going in, and I think that's kind of how like the culture, kind of transcends like America. It's kind of dope.
Everyone want to be a nigga, but they don't want to be a nigga.
Exactly.
All right,
Exactly.
you want me to continue?
Yeah, continue.
Okay. Yvonne and Ani meet again for Ani's services, and Yvonne invites her to a New Year's Eve party that he's throwing at his home. After the party, Yvonne and Ani have sex, and the next evening, as Ani is hurriedly leaving for work, smitten Yvonne offers her a proposal $15,000 to be his exclusive girlfriend for a week. Ani accepts. I'm saying Ani, but it's Annie.
Annie.
It's written like Ani though. So yeah, he's like $15,000 to be my horny girlfriend for the week.
That is the highest paying job she ever gonna have in her life.
Listen,
15
listen.
grand for a week. A
Yeah.
week.
But one thing, so she's at his house and she's doing a little floor routine for him. I love when strippers click their heels. I love it. I've always loved it. Those huge platforms with like the little stiletto heels, it makes
hmm
the most satisfying click. I love it. I love it. I remember when I went to a pole class, I was like, I need to learn how to click my heels like that and like do the little leg rotations, which when she was on the floor, yeah, I don't know why. I clicking heels, I'd be like, yes, you know what and when they do it on beat, just click, it's so satisfying.
No, I agree. She ate in the role.
How
And
the way she piked up, I'm like, core strength. Give her some respect. Like, listen, Lo did a phenomenal job in Hustlers, and I don't want to compare them. From my eyes, my non-stripper eyes, this could be rookie routines, what we're seeing.
yeah.
She still did it so gracefully. Like how the way she crawl walks to Yvonne, like kind of like dragging herself on the ground as she crawled to him while he's sitting on the couch. I'm like, ooh, girl, I want to learn everything. I want to learn everything. But
Yeah, no, she She killed that. And you know, there's also I was looking at watching an interview with her, and they talked about how physical this role was for her
Mhm.
with the dancing and learning, and like you said, the core strength and being like in tip top shape. Because if you're gonna be on naked on camera, you have to make sure that like you're in tip top shape. And
Sorry, y'all. We're having technical difficulties because James lives in Oklahoma now, and it's a wilderness out there apparently. No
yeah, my
internet.
internet keeps cutting in and out.
Yeah,
But what I was gonna say is
talk about
she,
the physicality of.
yes, the physicality, the role, but also she never spoke Russian a day in her life before this movie.
You are kidding me.
Yeah,
No,
never
but
spoke
that's
Russian.
perfect because she's supposed to be somebody whose Russian is bad.
Exactly, because she only learned from her grandmother, so she understands Russian, but she can barely speak it. And they actively say, "Yo, your Russian's terrible." And
I like that.
so it plays in perfectly. It plays in
Speaking of
perfectly.
Annie's Russian, she's clearly like isn't too proud of her Russian heritage. Like she doesn't. Did I say this already? But she doesn't want to speak Russian.
No, you didn't.
She demands that people call her Annie. She's very dismissive when Yvonne asks how she knows Russian, saying, you know, my grandma speaks it to me. And I think you think it's one of those things where like you know how like everyone treats like the foreign kid when you're a kid? Like do you think she tried so hard to like assimilate into American culture that now she kind of just wants to be done with the Russian side? Or you think it's something else?
I think being Russian in that neighborhood, and I think Russians is not
In a favor,
a
right?
yes for at least, especially Americans, right? American and Russia have been beefing since the 40s, right?
That is very true. I don't know anything about history, but yeah. James's internet is really struggling, guys. But yeah.
It's such a struggle, but yes, I 100% agree that she's not really proud of her Russian heritage, and I feel like the perception of Russia now, and this movie is the setting is current day, is with the invasion of Ukraine and like the Russian mob. They seem like the perception is that bullying gangsters, you know. So she just doesn't seem like she's really super proud of it.
Yeah. Yeah. There's this one point in the movie where Yvonne calls a character later on named Igor. He calls him a gopnik. And I was like, what's a gopnik? So I looked it up and Google told me that a um a gopnik is a pejorative term and social slur used in Russia, post Soviet countries, and Israel to refer to aggressive young people of lower class, low income backgrounds, often associated with delinquent subcultures.
Okay, okay.
So I guess they're like rowdy kids, like
Rowdy,
like
is it
thugs, like young thug.
thugs, kids, or okay, okay? I was trying to
They said young people, so
okay, yeah.
yeah. But yeah, another thing that I noticed when Annie and Yvonne meet again, I'm like, okay, Annie is starting to like Yvonne because, like you said, she was like, after he invited her to the party, she was like, you got 45 minutes left. Like, if you want to do something. And Yvonne is like, she didn't like, you know, they go at it again. And even though Yvonne lasts 1 minute, Annie, she does seem to find him like endearing. Like when he's laying on top of her, she's just kind of smiling and like I think she's starting to like him at this point.
Probably because she I can imagine she's used to men much older than her that doesn't really pay attention to her, that doesn't want anything to do with her after her services are rendered.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I
That
mean? So I think his like obsession with her, plus she's having the time of her life, leads her to be like start romanticizing the experience. Say, hey, this is pretty fun.
she never does any foreplay. I'm like, you never really do the hard stuff. And I understand why. I understand why she'll never do oral. Like, come on, that's crazy. But It's like you're
Yeah.
all right. But another thing I noticed, I love the use of light in this movie. It's like when Annie's leaving after she agrees to be his girlfriend for the week, she's leaving, and when the maids are cleaning up after the party, the sun like glares off the mirrored walls, and there are like these blurred lights in the club, like a music video. Like, have you ever like looked at a
Yeah.
light for too long and you look away and you see like the shapes in your eyes? They're
Mhm.
they're called
Yep.
something. I don't know, like the after.
It's called retina damage.
Right. But that's present throughout the movie. And like I like it because it looks like we're watching like a music video. It gives like this elevated, like dream-like feel to things. And I feel like this is
A lot of
Annie's dream, honestly.
it is, and we said music video. A lot of the scenes is shot in a montage, right? Like
Yeah.
a lot of them are just running around, drinking, partying, dancing, living their best
I
life.
also like how
You
sometimes the
know.
camera like randomly slowly zooms in at moments.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of nice. I don't know how
Yeah,
to. It's just yeah,
that's probably why I won best editing, right?
yeah, exactly. Those are the edits.
All,
Those are the edits.
those subtle things that just takes the movie from good to great.
You remember that scene when Annie was at work on the pole spinning and she took her bikini top off while she was spinning? I
Wow,
was like, wow.
I don't.
You said what?
I said I don't remember that scene in particular, but
She killed it. And one thing I
so
would like
I'm
to
a
see
I'm
more of, I would like to see, it would be interesting to really like see um, her relationship with her roommate, who I assume is her sister. That'd be interesting to see.
yeah, I think that was her
Yeah.
sister,
Yeah.
but they didn't have time for that. It had to get to her. This is an independent film. We don't got that much time. We have to get into the plot, get into the plot, and get into the dream.
All right. Do you want to continue
So,
or do you want me to?
yep, I'll
All right.
continue. After a few days of partying, sex, and getting high and goofing off with Ivan's friends, they all decide to go to Vegas. The contracted week is coming to an end, and Ivan admits to Annie that he must go home to Russia to work at his father's company. He then makes another proposal to Annie. He asks her to marry him so that he can stay in America. Annie once again agrees, and the pair tie the knot in the truest Vegan fashion at the Little White Chapel. Annie quits her job, moves to Ivan's home, but their marital bliss is cut short when Ivan's family finds out about their elopement.
So when they're in Vegas, I'm just like, these kids are irreverent and annoying. Like, I feel like an old geezer. But, like, what would you be doing at 21 with what feels like an endless supply of cash? You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Like, when they're in that candy store, just ugh, torturing that old man, taking advantage of him. I'm like, you guys are so annoying.
I thought the other shoe, the whole time watching the movie, I thought the other shoe would drop and like his credit card bounce or he gets arrested for like stealing or not being who he said he is. So the whole time I was kind of waiting for that to happen,
Mm.
waiting for like, especially there was one time they were at either a poker's table or a crab's table and he lost like 20
Yeah,
grand.
I was gonna
And someone was
ask
like,
you if he lost it. They're at blackjack, and I don't play at the tables because I'm broke. So I was like, did he lose
yeah,
$22,000?
yeah, he lost that
Yeah.
money. He lost it. And then they're like, oh, well, I'm like, okay, this dude really got money, money. I was waiting for the other shoe to drop, but he really got money,
Do you
money.
remember that
It's
scene where that old woman was taking a cold plunge? I think there was at Coney Island. I don't know. Do you remember?
no.
There was it was a quick little scene. They were all on the beach goofing off, and this old woman came and she got in the water, and they were like, "No, don't! It's too cold." And it's like, for me, I think it kind of symbolizes.
Wait, beach.
Yeah, remember before they went
Are
to
you?
Vegas?
I'm okay. I'm gonna say there's no beaches in
Yeah,
Vegas,
yeah.
but before the
Before they went
beaches.
to
Okay.
Vegas. I should have said that earlier. Yeah, before they went to Vegas. No, no, yeah, they go to Vegas. Yeah, I'm in the right place. They're in Vegas. They just left the candy shop after harassing the man who owns the candy store.
The candy shop is in New York.
I know. I'm talking about when they were in New York.
You just said
Okay, whatever. When they were
Vegas.
in New York, before they went to Vegas. Before they went to Vegas.
Okay.
They were on the beach and this old woman, she got in the water and like they were like, no, don't, and they recorded her and it's like I feel like that's like showing that like kind of like age is what you make it. Like here you are, these young kids, having fun. But an old woman is still out there too, like being brave enough to get in this freezing cold water in winter and because she just wants to. So I think there was like a nice little contrast between the young and the old, and they're both choosing to do what they want to do. It's kind of like
Hmm.
young in body and young at heart to the moment.
Okay,
Yeah.
that makes sense.
But yeah, one thing that I thought was really funny was mom keeps calling me. Can you tell her we're recording?
Yeah, I know.
um One thing that I thought was really funny was when Yvonne and Annie was having sex again. And like you could tell Yvonne has been surrounded by like yes men because he has a lot of money, because no girl has told him that he does not know how to have sex, that he's bad at sex.
Ta- that is true. But if you're being paid to do something, you don't want to be complaining to your customer that it's bad.
But Annie, she's a businesswoman. She know like that's why I told DQ one time. I was like, I could never be a stripper because what do you mean I have to be nice to men to get money? What do you mean I have
Mm.
to stroke their egos and laugh at their stupid jokes? Like my money is dependent on the pleasure of a man? Of men? Absolutely not. So, but she knows how to do this. So she's like, hey, it could be a lot better and more enjoyable if you slow down. Just like, let me do it. And she guided him. And he was like, I think I love you. And her face went like, yikes. And that night, he was still, you could tell he was smitten by her. He was like kissing her hands. And she was like, we should do this again sometime. And how the way he looked at her was like, yes, yes, please. Like, and then he proposed to her that night. So listen, she put it on him.
So, why do you think she said yes?
Why wouldn't she say yes?
Do you think she said yes for the money, or
Absolutely.
because?
And she likes him too. I
Okay,
think, I think it's both. I think she likes him, but
okay,
she's like, this man lost $22,000 and didn't even blink. He brought us to
yeah,
Vegas on a whim in a private jet. We're staying in a penthouse suite in Vegas. I'm marrying this man.
yeah. Yeah, you're right, and probably $22,000 probably what she makes in a year.
I'm married, and she's good at
So
her job. I'm
she's
pretty
good at her
sure this
job,
isn't the
exactly.
first time that she'd had very expensive clients, but an expensive client who wants to
Hmm.
marry you? Listen, Amber Rose does
Yeah,
it. She's a professional girlfriend. Kim
yeah,
Kardashian, yes, she came from a family of money, but she attaches herself to men who are also rich.
yeah.
Black China, that's the American dream. If you're pretty enough, if you're beautiful enough, listen, from a hotel housewife. And even so,
If you're beautiful enough, you can survive by calling yourself Black China. That is the most unappealing name I've ever
no, it's
heard in my
not.
life.
Niggas love black Chinese looking women.
But just you can't come up with
People
anything
love them.
more
Niggas love the Blasians.
the
They
Blasians.
love them. They love them. They go crazy over Karuchi, over what's that girl's name? Janae Aiko. They love them.
They thought we used to say that
Kimora Lee
um
Simmons.
that, the dragon. Nicki Minaj. You used to say
Nicki
Nicki
Minaj
Minaj was
swears she
hot.
Japanese. She's not. But they
Yeah,
because she has features that look quote unquote Asian. Hope I don't get canceled. They love that.
yeah, you're right. Okay.
Toros, Ivan's Suedo guardian, and Nikolai Zakharov's right hand, sends henchmen Igor and Garnik to Ivan's house to see if the rumors of the marriage are true. Chaos ensues when Igor and Garnik arrive and Ivan learns that his parents are on their way to him. Ivan runs off out of the house, leaving Annie alone with the two men. Annie fights the men tooth and nail as they try to contain her in the home. Eventually, Igor restrains her by tying her hands with a telephone cord and holding her tightly. Turos arrives and gags Annie and tells her that they will find Yvonne and immediately get the marriage annulled. Turos promises Annie that after the annulment, she will be paid $10,000 for a green card marriage fee. They will then take Yvonne back to Russia, and she must never contact him again. Annie realizes that finding Yvonne is her only chance at saving the marriage and goes with the three men. So I want to ask you, what's different? Do you know the difference between an annulment and a divorce?
So, a divorce, there's still an history of the marriage. With a divorce, you can have alimony checks. You can get um, some sort of
Maybe custody if you
payment
have
for
kids
being
together.
married. Custody, or you have more
Yeah, it's
rights
more
if
legitimate.
you're married and you get legally divorced. An annulment means that the marriage never happened,
Yeah,
right? The marriage was either forced or it was drunk or
yeah.
it never
Or
happened.
they're in
So you
Vegas and they're
never,
21 and stupid.
yes. So I think, especially, yeah. So the annulment is just never happened. Is not a thing,
Yeah,
and because of that, she has no legal right to any of the money that he may or may not have,
yeah.
or any of the lifestyle that she may or may not have because of their marriage.
But you know, she still kind of rack it up. She got 15K for the week. She has all those overtime she had sex, and now she has another 10 grand of it. So she has at least $25,000.
At least 25
At
grand.
least.
And I understand the family's motivation, right? Once again, this is the one of the richest and most powerful families like in the world, right? They're billionaires. They hear about this and they immediately get on a private jet from Russia to fly to New York, which is probably like a 16-hour flight. So it's dumb expensive for them to come to New York. And Tordos, he was at he's Armenian, right? And the actor is Armenian. And um he was being made a godfather for Armenian baby. And in that culture, that's a big deal.
Like
Like
the Italians.
it's a big honor. Yes, it's a big honor and responsibility, like the Italians, the
Mm-hmm.
godfather. It's a big honor and responsibility to be a godfather. So him having to leave in the middle of the ceremony to go handle
Oh, what was
Ivan's
that? That was
foolishness.
a baptism or a christening? What was?
That was a baptism.
Uh,
Yeah, it was baptism. He was becoming his
mm.
godfather, right? So to leave the middle of the ceremony, and his wife and all his family was blowing him up. Like, how could you? Like, what's going on? Where you have to go? And he can't like. So he just his goal was to get them together, hold them annulled, and he can go back to what he has to
And I
do.
just have to tell
You know,
I have to tell the ladies real quick. Ladies, if your new husband doesn't want you to doesn't want to introduce you to his family, that is not your husband.
that's a blatant red
If he wants to
flag.
keep you a secret, that is
Also,
not your husband. That's
also,
someone else's
if
husband,
if you
most likely.
if your new husband runs
Mm-hmm.
away and leaves you
With
in the
three
house with
grown
two
men.
grown men,
Yeah, two. Yeah, two grown men.
yeah, for two grown men with a third on his way because he's afraid of facing his parents, and she is assaulted in between, like in the midst of that, he is
That
not
is
your
not your
husband.
husband. That is not your husband. And I
That
think
is not
that's
your
where
husband.
Annie the honeymoon phase is over and she realizes, "Oh, I married a child." Like
Hmm.
but one thing I noticed, as soon as Igor and Annie meet, I knew there would be something between them. Did you catch that?
Um, I caught. I don't know. Maybe
I knew immediately. Like how the way the camera kind of
there was.
stayed on Igor when he took his head down
Yeah,
and how the way they kind of
there
looked at
was.
each
Yeah, there
other.
was. Yeah, I was about to say. I think I remember a look that they had
Yeah.
that I thought that
And it's like,
that's something might happen.
yeah, like when they introduced themselves, Annie was like, "I'm Vanya's wife," and Igor said, "Congratulations." Not sarcastically, but like he was kind of sympathetic to her from the beginning, even though Annie, she gets Stockholm syndrome, but like he was sympathetic for her from the beginning. So I peeped that early. But one thing about Annie, listen, this girl is a sex worker. She knows how and is not afraid to defend herself, especially against two
Yes.
huge goon. Like she's from the streets. This
Yes.
woman kicks Garnick in the face full force with both feet,
Breaks his
breaks his
nose.
nose, kicks him into a glass table, breaks it, breaks the table, and I'm sure she gave him a concussion. Like he wasn't right for the whole day
He
after she
wasn't.
kicked him. She bit Igor so ferociously on the
In the
neck.
neck.
There was a big purple bruise. And before that, she punched him. She mollywopped him right in his face and slapped him. And I'm like, you better go off. I would
Yeah.
have screamed rape immediately because I don't know who these people are. I do not know them. I
Hmm.
am by myself. You are angry with me. I would scream rape before they took the ring. Like,
Yeah. No, I was, yeah, she fought very, very
mm-hmm.
hard. And the actors, whatever interview I was watching, they were talking about how they did that scene like 7, 8 times. And they were just like, okay, it's time to go get beat up by Mickey again. And, the scene where she kicks the one
Garnick, she kicks
goon,
him and she
double
says, "Yo, boss." I start cracking up. I start cracking up. Like,
apparently she had only one chance to do that scene.
mm.
I'm not sure because they didn't feel like we're paying the cost of the table, but she had only one chance to do that scene and she killed
Yeah,
it.
she kills it. And I think it's so funny that when Igor has her restrained, Garnet comes in. He's like, "What are you doing? It's a little girl." Then she sees why. Toros comes in, sees her tied up. Toros is like, "What are you doing? Untie her." They're like, "No, no." And then he sees why.
Oh, she's a
It's
menace.
like, remember that you watched that season of Fargo, right? The last season I told you about,
Yes,
and they were like, "She's a
yes,
tiger." Mm-hmm.
yes. That's what it reminded me of the last season of
Mm-hmm.
Fargo. She was also
Mm-hmm.
resourceful. And like whenever you're being attacked, you have to have more
Exactly.
aggression than your
Exactly.
attacker. Especially if you're a woman, you're
Mm-hmm.
smaller.
You
You
are
have to
there
be
half
more.
naked.
It's like half naked. You're smaller. She has to be more
Mm-hmm.
aggression. Where they just like to days ago, let me pick her up and put her down. Like, no, I'm not gonna let you pick me up.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna let you
Because
tie
I
me.
don't know you. I don't know
I'm not
what
gonna
you're
let
gonna
you
do.
do
I have
anything.
no idea what you're gonna
I'm,
do to me. You're a powerful
she
family.
did
You can make
she,
people disappear. I ain't gonna be one of them.
exactly. It ain't gonna be one of them. She did an amazing job
Did
defending
you feel like
herself.
the scenes were comical, but they were also unsettling? Did you feel the same way? Okay, yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. I didn't find it funny until after the scene was over.
Okay.
I was waiting, like I said, once again, waiting for the
I
shoe
was
to
like
drop
chuckling
because
nervously. Yeah.
exactly, Igor at one point like had her tied up and like was facing
He
behind
was like
her
bent over
and
the
just
couch
like
and he was right behind her. Yeah.
bent over the couch, and I'm like, is he about to
Yeah.
rape her?
Yeah. It was
You
uncomfortable.
know, and and then the dude came in and was like, "What the f are you doing?"
See, but then you laugh like that. It's like they know what the audience feels like and they break that tension in a sense. But still keep
Yes,
it.
exactly. I'm like, "Whoop, okay."
Yeah.
Then I'm gonna rape her, and then when yeah, it was a lot of tension and then comedy, and then like, yo, this girl is a fighter.
Mhm.
Like you said, she a stripper from New York who you have to know how to
Come
defend
on
yourself.
now.
Like, come
She ain't
on
this ain't her
now.
first rodeo. But then I really felt
Hmm.
bad for Annie when Charles came. And Annie was like, "Get out of our house. Get out of Yvonne's house." And Charles was like, "Yvonne's house?" Everything Yvonne has belongs to his father. He owns nothing. He's just a spoiled kid, but essentially an allowance. And that realization just sinks in. And you can see
Hmm.
Annie's bubble like visibly burst. And it's like, oh, yeah, she's realizing it. She's realizing
Yeah.
that he has nothing. Like that everything he has can be taken away because everything was given to him. And he's just some rebellious brat
Mhm.
who you married.
Exactly. Exactly. But heir to $1 billion fortune. So like they want to protect that fortune and that like lineage, but at the same time, they can put him in timeout for a few years until he's mature.
Honestly, because I'd be the same
You know
way
what
if
I
I
mean?
found out my son married a whore. What?
Yeah, married a whore in New York after spending God knows how much money getting there and coming back. Like, dude, what he went on a is it
He went on a
bender?
bender, yeah. Doing
Bender. Yeah, he went
ketamine
on a
and
freaking
lines of
bender.
coke and smoking I don't know how much
Like,
weed and injecting something into his
come on.
bloodstream in Vegas. I don't know what it was. Like he was going ham.
Exactly. Exactly. You want to
Yeah, I'll do it.
okay.
For the next several
Okay.
hours, the misfit crew drive around New York looking everywhere Yvonne might be. Finally, Annie finds out that Yvonne is where they met, Headquarters Strip Club. Annie finds Yvonne in a private room with Diamond. Yvonne is dragged out of HQ, and Annie finally gives Diamond the beatdown she's been asking for. Igor breaks up the fight, and all of them clamber into the cars to the courthouse. Yvonne in an intoxicated stupor. They sleep in the car outside the courthouse into morning, but after speaking to the judge, they learn that the marriage must be annulled in Vegas. Yvonne's parents, Nikolai and Galina, meet them at the hangar in New York to fly together to Vegas. Before boarding the plane, Annie pleads with Ivan to disobey his parents, but Yvonne refuses. He tells her to give up and accept the fact that they are getting annulled. Their marriage is getting annulled. So, one thing that I thought was funny is when uh well no, this happened beforehand, but when they all get in the car to look for Ivan, Yvonne, Vanya, and Igor sits next to Annie. Annie's like, I'm not sitting next to this psychopath. And Garnick is like, you are the psychopath. That man suffers. He throws up. Like, he gets high from the pills
yeah,
Igor gives him. Like, he is suffering.
yeah. No, he was truly
Mm-hmm.
suffering. And this whole the next few like hours of them searching for Ivan just reminded me of the Hangover movie
Really?
where where they lost their friend and they just searching
They
everywhere
lost the
trying to find
groom and he
him.
was getting married
They
tomorrow.
lost they lost the groove, right?
This is
And
why you don't
it was
plan
kind of like that.
a bachelor weekend in Vegas a few days before your wedding. That should be 2 months ahead. In Vegas?
Exactly. In Vegas. Come on. Come on. So they're looking over for this guy. They're like follow like asking everyone around him and they get little clues. Like, oh, he was just here a few
Uh,
minutes ago. He was just got
he's
kicked
so
out. He was
elusive.
too
He's
drunk.
always slipping out of your
Just
grip like butter.
yes. Yes. And the thing is he runs away and he why did he decide to run away and just party?
Because he's a drug
Right? Like he
addict.
wasn't like just he wasn't like he wasn't willing to stop his fantasy,
Mm-hmm.
you know. And he also shows that he was not there to fight for like his
He was
marriage.
not
He's
worried
just there
about
to
as soon as Annie was outside of his direct field of view, he was not worried about her.
no.
He was like,
Exactly.
my parents
I
gonna go
can't
get
see
me. And he's a scared little boy who wants to run away from his parents. That's it.
exactly. So he is terrified and runs away. And that's the whole show until they finally find him dancing with the stripper who told Ani that your marriage not gonna last for two
Literally
weeks.
dancing with
And
Annie's main number one op. And it's crazy that like
mm-hmm.
Yvonne is dancing with Diamond in a private room. I know he's intoxicated. He's out of his mind. He's wasted. But he's telling her that he loves her. And it's like, it just shows you that what happens to Annie could have happened to any old girl. Like, she
It
wasn't
could have.
special to him. Like,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
one thing that I like about these scenes that I'm looking for Yvonne, I really like how this movie highlights like real places like Tatiana Grill, which is like a beloved Russian restaurant. And like the shots at that restaurant looks like they're like showcasing real people and not actors. And like
Probably makes sense.
yeah. And the whole thing seems like a love letter to like the tight Russian community that lives in New York.
Yeah. No, actually 100% agree. 100% agree. It seemed like you said authentic.
Exactly. So, and we're seeing that Igor is becoming more sympathetic to Annie. And there's one scene, I'm like, that one scene where they first go into the candy store, another real place. The dude who owns it is probably the real dude who owns it, for real, for real.
Yeah.
So they go into the candy store. They're like, "Where's Yvonne?" His friends aren't talking. So Igor takes a bat and starts trashing the place. And Annie's there calm. And as soon as she's done, she's like, "Where the f is Yvonne?" And it's like, "Oh, y'all a pair. Like, you weren't phased by his like his like brutal
Aggression.
aggression in that scene. You was right there with him. You know what I mean? Y'all was like Bonnie and Clyde right then. So it's like,
Hmm.
okay, y'all seen the
Toxic feeds on toxic.
yes, y'all seem to kind of come from the same place. A place of like, you're not afraid to buck up when it's time to buck up. Like, you're not looking for the drama,
Yo,
but you'll bring
to
it.
be honest with you, they probably come from the same
Cause
place.
you know what I mean? Like I said, Ivan called Igor a gopnik. And after that,
Hmm.
after I looked up the explanation, I was like, oh, okay, he's kind of a ruffian. She's a stripper.
Yeah, but
They're, you
she's
know
a
what I
stripper.
mean? Like
They're cut from the same
they
cloth.
cut from the same cloth. They're not troublemakers, but don't try them or you get a concussion.
Don't try. Is you get a concussion, you lose your candy.
But I did think it was really stupid that like he bought the scarf that Toros gagged Annie with when she got cold. It's like, nigga, what? Get that scarf away from me. She eventually took it, but it's like, dude, like,
He definitely seemed like he was on the spectrum or something. He just just socially awkward, and but he honestly was trying to be nice and kind to
but it's
her.
like if you was really trying, you wouldn't have gotten involved.
Well, it's his job. He really doesn't have a choice. He's a
If you
henchman.
really cared,
He has to,
you would have left that girl alone. But
he has to do henchman things,
he could be a goon
you
for
know.
somebody
So I
else. I don't know.
no,
I don't
I
sympathize
disagree.
with him.
Especially I think well, what I'm saying, I don't necessarily sympathize with him
Yeah.
either. But what I'm saying is he is a henchman for the right hand man of probably the richest guy in the
Mm.
neighborhood. So he's from a thug standpoint, he kind of he's making it. He's doing pretty good.
Another thing that I thought
If
was
that makes
funny,
sense.
when Annie first meets Yvonne's parent, she meets Galina and she's like, "Hi, Miss Zakharova." So I think you use the feminine version of Zakharov when you're addressing a woman because she calls her Zakharova. So I was like, "Oh, do you put like you know how like romantic like yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
I could be wrong." She was like, "My name is Annie. I'm Yvonne's wife. It's nice to meet you." And the camera like really quickly like took a look at like went to like Yvonne's face and like Garnick's face and they were just kind of like, oh, she don't know her, like yikes. This is awkward, like you are about to get embarrassed. And Galita pretty much cussed her out like, you are not part of this family, get away from me, you filthy whore. Like I
Yes,
cracked
just
up because their
destroys
faces
her.
was like, ugh, like, oh, wrong move. You do not know her.
Wrong move. You do not
She is
know her.
not
You cannot
friendly.
come with kindness with this lady.
Yes, yes.
Yeah,
But
it makes sense. It was just naive, and it was her last ditch effort to try to show that hey, I'm his wife. He's freaking out right now, but I can like control him. I can help him. Just let him stay. And she's like, I have no
like,
time
girl,
for you,
this isn't
child.
like you meeting your fiance's parents for the first time and they work in like finance. No, they do not like you. They are hostile
Like
towards you. Like
they're hostile
it's a
towards you.
different. It's not like
Exactly. And
meeting the
most likely,
parents at Fridays for dinner. It's not that vibe. Like
and once again, this is equivalent. This is probably equivalent of meeting the parents of the son of a CEO for a multi-billion dollar company, right? Like he is not trying, he's not worried about you.
mhm,
Hopefully he could make his son marry for
mhm,
power or just move up and eventually if he's successful enough he can marry for love.
yeah,
But he's not worried about some whore in New York.
mhm.
Like you don't got time for
Money
this.
isn't
Like you
everything,
had your
people.
fun.
When you have too much money, you lose genuineness. You lose little moments of you being excited about your son getting married. Instead, it's like, oh, this hoe just wants the money. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah. Yeah.
but one thing. So they're all about to get on the plane to Vegas, and Annie is trying to talk some sense into Yvonne, saying like, "Yo, you're a grown man. You don't have to listen to them." And he's ignoring her. And then finally, he's like, "What do you want me to say?" And I'm like, that is the worst thing for you to hear when you're arguing with a man. Like when you're pleading with a man, trying to get him to understand you, and he says, "What did I want? What do you want me to say?" It's like, yo, you really have no concept. You don't understand what I am trying to say to you. You either don't understand or you don't care.
He asked her, "Are you stupid?
Yeah.
Do you not know what's going on?"
But
Right.
I think that's worse than saying, "What do you want me to say?" It's like, yo, you really don't get it. And it just shows they come from two different places. Cause he said, he was like, "Thank
Hmm.
you for letting me have a good time, for showing me a good time or having fun with me in America." And she was like, "It was fun for you?" And it's like, for Ivan, this was just a fun time. For Annie, this was a
Yeah.
life changing circumstance. They're just on
Exactly.
two different playing fields.
Exactly. Life changing. Like status changing.
Yes.
Like the mint coat that she had, the ring, the 5-6 carat ring
Like
that she
her
had.
and her, what is it called? Posterity would have been set.
Set.
And it was just a
Set.
fun time for him.
I do think right before they got on the plane, are we there yet? I think.
Yeah, we are. We're right there.
Okay.
They're playing to
Yeah,
Vegas.
so right before she get on the plane to
Yeah.
Vegas, she smartens up and she's like, I'm not getting an annulment until you pay me.
Mm-hmm.
Right. She's basically like, that's the once again the New York like street
She's
smarts.
very
Like,
smart.
I'll take
Yeah. She's naive
I'll
because
take
she's
him for
23, but she's smart.
she's smart. Like, hey, I'll take him for what she's worth. Like, I know that you need to pay me. Like, I can get money out of this thing.
Mm-hmm.
When she realized that Yvonne didn't love her, Vanya didn't love her, but then
You
the
said Yvonne, right?
the mother looked. Yeah, the mother essentially was like, "You're never gonna win. Like, I will crush you, and I'll crush your family, and I'll crush everyone you love
And it's
and
true.
earn because she's more than just a
Yeah.
businesswoman. She is a
She has
mob boss.
power.
She has
Mm-hmm.
power, and and Annie knows she has power because she grew up in a neighborhood.
Mm.
She knows who that family
Well,
probably
she never
is. Well,
heard
she
of
didn't know off
them,
the
but I
top.
think she has an
She never
understanding.
heard
Yeah.
of how powerful that family can
Mm-hmm.
be. You know what I mean? Understanding of it.
Maybe, I don't know. This may be a stretch, but maybe there was like, ever since the whole Russia invading Ukraine, maybe around the time, there may have been like a lot of violence perpetuated towards the Russian community. Maybe that's why she goes by Anora, and she wants to kind of distance herself from that. It could be a stretch.
That's why she goes by Anya, not
Mm-hmm.
Anora.
Yeah, yeah, that's what I meant to say.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, the at least in the early very beginning, America was all pro Ukraine.
Yeah.
You know, during the invasion, even before that, the annexing of Crimea, all that was just more tension in the region, and also our perceptions of Russia and Putin.
Yeah. All right. You want to continue the next part? Or you want me to?
After signing all the necessary documents in Vegas, the annulment is complete, and Annie is allowed to spend one final night in Ivan's mansion under Igor's supervision. The next morning, Igor drives Annie home and reveals to her that he stole her wedding ring back from Toros and gives it to her. Annie then sleeps with Igor in the car. Afterwards, she begins to cry and hit him as he holds her and she sobs in his arm.
Yeah. So, one thing that I thought was funny when Annie and Igor were just sitting down watching the news, and like Annie's telling Igor to like off 12 times. And then she
Yeah.
said, "You would have raped me if you had the chance and no one else was there." And he was like, "No, I wouldn't do that." And then she was kind of like, "Well, why not?"
Yeah, she did say, "Why not?"
That's how her face was like, well, why not? Like, you don't want this? And it's like, this is so uncomfortable, but funny too. But it's like, like I said, Andy does have Stockholm syndrome. Like, this man held you against your will while also sympathizing with you through everything that happens. So, like, I understand her emotions being confusing. But also, I'm like, plus he's 7 years her senior. So he could have been manipulating her, like playing the nice guy for sex this entire time. I don't know. I don't know. What do you think?
I was very confused by the sex scene. It was obvious he had a crush on her since the first time he
I
saw
knew they
her.
was gonna hook up. Like I knew it was gonna be a thing. Yeah.
Yeah, and even when he's still in the ring for her, you know, she basically, climbs over and mounts him in the car. And I don't think he even expected it because he was just
Yeah, his face
shocked
was in awe. He was
the
like in
whole
awe
time.
of her. Like
Yes, in awe and completely shocked.
he looked like he
And as
never
soon as
connected with anyone before. Like he looked like he didn't know what to do. He looked gobsmacked.
gobsmacked is
Gobsmacked.
crazy.
I don't even know if I used that correctly.
Flabbergasted. You look flabbergastic, like just yeah. And then uh, afterwards, when she starts like hitting him and everything and just mad, do you think that's just frustration and anger out of the whole stinking situation this past week and a half that she had to endure?
Yeah, I think it's that, and I think it's also like, man, I let my horniness sleep with a man who held me captive.
Yeah,
Sleep with a man who's
yeah, yeah.
probably not a good person, but I'm so
And
vulnerable
the thing,
right now.
yeah, but also she's a prostitute, so she probably slept with other bad people.
At
But I
least she's
feel
getting
like
paid
this
for it. She
was
ain't
the
getting no
most.
money for this.
She got a ring for it.
Yeah, but that was her ring. That was her ring. Annie did nothing wrong. That was her ring by rights. But yeah,
Yeah,
and that wasn't a transaction. That was him giving her back something that belonged to her. So
yeah,
for me,
yeah.
I would have never sleep with Igor. I don't care how nice you are because like you really tied me down. Like you tried to keep me captive, and it's like, oh, he was nice about it, but it's like you still tried to hold me against my will. My will. I
Hmm.
get us a job, but no, you're a villain, and I'm not getting the Stockholmies over you. We
The
not
Stockholm.
Stockholmies.
That's what they are, Stockholmies.
That's not my Stockholmie. I'm not doing that. So
Yeah, I'm going back to their cut for the same
yeah.
cloth, and I feel as though they're up. They could have literally been grown up a few years apart, and their upbringing and the neighborhood and the environment just led him to being a gangster and a henchman, and her to being a stripper and a prostitute. And I think in that moment she realized that hey, that's just ego from the block.
That's the man I should be with.
Yeah, really, this is the man I should be with or feasible to be with, and like will be yeah. So and then the movie ends. So what would you rank this, Mary?
Well, Blot. That was a really good movie. I think the last scenes when Igor and Annie were at the home for the last night were drawn out a little bit longer than I liked, but I liked the movie. I went into the movie not knowing what it was about, and I thought it was endearing. I thought it was fun. It made me want to do young, reckless things again, like just have fun, live in a moment. And like I said, Miss Madison, she was fantastic. Mark Edelstein was fantastic. I think everyone in this movie did a really good job. Like, and I feel like that's a movie that I would like buy, like own, and just watch it again every so often, whether it's playing in the background or it's like, oh, I feel like watching Anora. It's a very feel good movie. And even though the ending, and that's what I noticed about the ending, towards the end, where they're sitting in a car, all the like fantastical lights and things we talked about before is no longer there. And I feel like that's because she's coming into
Right.
terms with reality. Everything is gray and it's snowing again. So the editing,
Hmm.
the little I know of editing, I think was done very well. And I will give this movie a large bag of popcorn. Definitely go watch that, John. It's right on Hulu.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I also would give this a large bag of popcorn, but I struggle to why this would win Best
Okay.
Picture. I think from the movie standpoint, right, I enjoyed it. I thought the plot was simple to follow, to understand. The characters' motivations were simple to follow. It was funny, but not like like outlandish funny. It had like all the elements you enjoy in a good
Mm-hmm.
movie. But I think the hype on it, at least from the critics, just grew and had so much momentum that it was destined to sweep, and it was destined to do very, very well at the Academy
I think the
Awards,
background you
right?
gave for this movie further solidifies its place as winning the best movie. I wouldn't give it the best film, but I definitely think Mickey Mikey deserves the best leading role because I think she did really good.
I,
But after you
yeah,
explained to me the history of the director and everything that he did and like his vision and like how like real places, I think that really,
yeah, that really put it off.
yeah. So more than
Okay,
what we
I
see,
guess,
but what went into it, you know what I mean?
yeah,
His approach to
what
it.
went into
Yeah.
it? I kind of, I agree with that, right? Them finding a real Russian oligarch's house, right, and them recording actually in Brooklyn and on a $6 million budget. I think the film grossed like $56 million, so almost made 10x what it cost. You know, and that just for now. Who knows how much money he's making on Hulu right now? So, actually, I agree that the in front of the camera isn't the whole film. It's in front and behind, and the stories that it's trying to
But I get you.
tell.
I get you're saying, I didn't know that. I had to look for that. So me judging by the movie alone, I don't think it should have won. So I get that too. I'm just saying what I think the Academy was looking at. They
Yeah,
take everything, not just the final outcome, but how did you get to that outcome, I guess.
it's kind of like I feel like some of these things is like fine dining, like a fine dining
Mm.
experience, right? For me, I can appreciate once I understand the ingredients and where it's sourced and the techniques that the chef used to cook and like to prep the
See, I'm
food
completely different
and the
with you on that regard.
presentation.
I don't care if the food don't taste good. I don't give a damn. I do not care.
You know what I'm saying? Like at the end of the day, the food got to taste good, and I have to
Okay,
be
okay,
satisfied
yeah.
when I leave. Right? That's what I was gonna say. At the end of the day, it has
Yeah.
to taste good, and afterwards, I could be like, oh, like this was Japanese wagyu steak
Mm.
that is A5, and it was like seared in this, you know, oven that reached 650 degrees, and all that other stuff is, yeah, but did it taste good?
Mm-hmm.
You
Did it
know,
taste good?
and I feel like that's how some of these films are. But this film wasn't like that. All the fluff and the pump and like the
Mm-hmm.
pageantry and stuff like that. It was just simply a stripper in New York finds love, it has fun. The whole story
It
falls
all
on its
comes
face.
crashing
The
down.
whole joke
Yeah.
all goes crashing down. It's like, yeah, okay, I can see that. She had a good week. Like you said, she had fun. She had $25,000 from the accountant straight cash, plus the cash she paid an individual. She got paid on the individual um, sessions, we'll call
Mm-hmm.
them, and then the value of the ring. So she made out pretty stinking good for a week and a half of work.
Yeah, I think she won.
So yeah, in
I think she
conclusion,
won.
I will also give it a I'll also give it a large bag of popcorn.
All right then. Well, guys, thank you so much for being patient with us and tuning in again for yet another episode. James, where can they find us?
Yeah, thanks for listening to another episode of the Watch That John podcast. You can listen to us on Apple Podcast, Spotify, or anywhere else you find your favorite shows. You can follow us at Instagram at Watch That John, and you can follow us on YouTube channel, the Watch That John podcast. Thank you for listening, and until next time.
Bye.